A bit late, but then better late than never. But here's the thing, the terrorism is a global problem, and for a country like Nigeria to be seemingly overwhelmed with a terrorist group like Boko Haram's activities, who knows how far the group intends to go and whose interests may eventually be hurt. Truth, however, is that Boko Haram is believed to be part of a larger terror network. A group is obviously not acting in isolation. There have been links made to the rebels in Mali, the DRC, and to Al-Qaeda in the Maghreb, also Al-Shabaab in Somalia. And don't forget, French troops, have been fighting Islamist insurgents threatening to take over northern Mali. African Union and United Nations troops have been in Somalia for years fighting Al-Shabaab. Al-Shabaab recently has begun carrying out attacks on Somalia's neighbor, Kenya. Within 9 months, it carried out 2 attacks in 2 of the country's major cities. It seems in almost every region on the continent, there are pockets of violence perpetrated by some terror group or the other. The United States government has always suggested a multifaceted approach to dealing with terror, but what does that really entail? Because the international community has never failed to promise support for Nigeria in the fight against terror, but it seems it was only last week we did see them or hear them explain in detail what sort of help we would be getting. So now the focus is in finding the missing Chibok girls. I asked one of our regular analysts on the program what he thought of all the attention we seem to be getting and how it affects our image on the outside. Professor, thank you so much for joining us on Diplomatic Channel. Well, you've seen the international response to the Chibok abductions. What do you make of them?
Well, it's a welcome development that the international community is now drawn into local politics here. But one still has some fear that to what extent and for how long will the international community, particularly the JTF, going to remain here with us? So what is going to be the level of their participation? So what exactly are they going to contribute? Will they put their boot on the ground for Nigeria, which I doubt very much that they're going to do? I think essentially what they're going to do is to provide intelligence and some equipment that will enable them, maybe in collaboration with Nigerian armed forces, to actually track down the insurgents and all that.
Does it sound any different to you? Because this same international community, these countries that are coming in to help Nigeria find the missing Chibok girls, are countries that have pledged support to Nigeria to fight Boko Haram, to fight Islamist insurgency in northeastern Nigeria. And they've said that they're providing almost this same sort of support to Nigeria to fight insurgency. So does it sound any different what they're doing now?
No, not really. The fact is that it's only when they are invited that we will come. The question is, has Nigeria actually invited them before now? Well, now because they are here physically. But before now, maybe they've been providing a kind of intelligence support and how to go about fighting the war and all that, maybe also by contributing money, for Nigerian to procure maybe arms or something like that. Of course, we've not seen the result. We've not really seen the impact of their assistance all this while. But now that they are here physically to lend helping hands, so I think we have to await the results that this one will bring.
And before the Chibok abductions, because there were several other attacks by Boko Haram insurgents, hundreds of people have died in the attacks. Let's not forget the 2 that happened within 2 weeks, within the space of 3 weeks in Abuja. People have died in those attacks. The United Kingdom and Canada have both declared a Boko Haram terrorist organization, so has the United States. But this does not seem to have had any effect on the group. So what implications are there if you label a group a terrorist organization? Does it really affect their activities?
No, of course, when you label them terrorist organization, that simply means that the fight has gone beyond our border. So it's now been internationalized. So they can also be fished out and dealt with the way America and other countries are dealing with Al-Qaeda network. So because Boko Haram is operating on a franchise. So we know this. We drew the attention to this a few years back, that they were actually working towards getting franchise, which they have got now. Having got that, it means that they are fighting just like the Al-Qaeda. They have everything that the Al-Qaeda hard to fight the world, and exactly because helps keep coming here and there from the Al-Qaeda network all over the world. So that's exactly, they are so enamored and very powerful now to do whatever they are doing with all impunity, and that's what they carry out, just like their forerunner, Osama bin Laden.
You say that the implication of this is that the UN, it means that Boko Haram, international community recognizes Boko Haram as a terrorist organization,
and they would go the whole hog to fight them.
But in your opinion, have they treated Boko Haram as an international terrorist group?
Well, it depends on what level. The fact that they have not come to Nigeria to actually help in checkmating them does not mean that they are not fighting them. Remember, when we talk about franchise with, let's say, the Al-Qaeda in the Maghreb, for instance, in Mali and other sub-regions. So they are, international community is encountering them here and there. And Boko Haram is part of this. It's just that they have not come to Nigeria like they have done now to say, okay, Boko Haram, we are declaring all out war against you. Of course, the international community recognizes them as terrorist organizations, and they may be fighting them at that level. But maybe engaging them in a particular, this is a virtual war, really. We don't really have a particular battlefront where they engage them. But at the other level, I think the international community have been doing that. But the fact that maybe Nigeria had not at any time invited officially that come and help us like they did now. So that is why we've not actually seen the result of what the international community is doing.
Can you draw similarities between what's going on in northeast Nigeria, what happened in Mali about 2 years ago, and what happened also in the Central African Republic? You have terrorist groups threatening regions in these three countries.
Yeah, of course. The fact is that they all work together, so there is really no boundary for the Boko Haram who are operating in Mali, Central African Republic, and Nigeria, because they are all fighting towards common cause.
Which means you're saying that we need the same response. We need the same response here in Nigeria.
Definitely. But we've been calling for this kind of drastic response all this while, just because our leaders do not have the requisite political will to deal with them. We have said it on so many fora that, look, these people have declared war on Nigeria. We should treat them as if we are fighting a war. But you see, our president had all the power in the world. In fact, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces to deal with them, but he has not been able to do it. It's not as if we don't have the capability.
Okay,
I fail to believe that.
I was going to ask that, if you believe that Nigeria can actually win this war on insurgency.
Of course, if Nigerian leaders had taken our advice all this while, that this is the way to fight this war, this is the way to fight war without politicking, because of the politics there, okay, that has made the whole thing to fester now, that we are now inviting international community to come and help. Even the international community that is coming, I still have my doubt, because these people will only provide intelligence services, they will only provide funds and some other way with that. They may not go to the field and engage the Boko Haram, because American taxpayers, for instance, these countries, they are weary to actually engage in battles in any of these countries, particularly in Africa. They only provide funds and other logistic support. But putting their boot on ground, I doubt it very well. And that is where the problem comes in. For instance, if you provide all these things, who are you going to provide this thing to? Is it the people who have been incapable of fighting this war all this while? Either they deliberately are not able to do it, or because of politics that is not enabling them to do it. So the fact remains that hitherto they have not been able to apprehend any Boko Haram warriors. The fact is that they have not been able to prevent our children from being carted away. I mean, so many bombing in Yaya twice, almost in 1 week. These are just posing so many questions we've not been able to answer. Some people in other climes, some people would have resigned on their own, but since we don't have that in our blood, some people should have been shown the way out. But government is not doing that. I mean, when you are given a task to perform a particular task, money is voted there, you are not able to carry it out, there is time for review. That individual should be able to account for his stewardship. And so I don't think anybody is asking anybody to account for his stewardship now. Otherwise, some people would have resigned or been sacked. Because the whole thing shows that is portraying Nigeria in a very bad light, as if Nigeria Nigeria does not even have people who can man, this situation, as if we don't even have army, we don't have navy, we don't have air force at all.
That's really